EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hello and welcome to EduTech Guys Radio, brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools. We want to give a big shout out to CDWG for their sponsorship through some of the equipment that we use here on the show. We're going to start the show off with a 10-yard penalty for delay of game.
That wasn't me. It was really interesting.
It was a false start.
It's been one of those days. It has been delay of internet.
Delay of internet.
For the day. Hey, I'm Jeff Madlock. I beat you to it.
You did. And I'm David Henderson.
Hey, we want to
welcome to the show.
You can tell it's summertime. You know what's really interesting is that this is the 1 year anniversary.
It is, man.
You know, last week was almost a 1 year anniversary, but this is past the 1 year anniversary because dates don't line up. But this is the 1 year anniversary of our first show. This is episode number 46 of the weekly radio show, not counting conference coverage and special coverage that we've done throughout the year. So we'll actually start season 2 next week.
That is awesome.
If we do a year season. We've never really had that discussion.
We just did. And season 2 kicks off next week. Join us live next week. And what's going to be interesting about that is we kicked off EduTech Guys at a conference for season 1. We will kick off season 2 at a conference.
The Hot Springs.
We'll be at the Hot Springs
Technology Institute.
HSTI.org. We'll be there next Wednesday and Thursday.
Is that right? Yeah, 14th and 15th.
15th and 16th.
Yeah,
we'll be live.
Yeah, next week on the 14th, we're at the Southwest Arkansas Educational Co-op doing a workshop on podcasting in the classroom.
Yeah.
So if you're still looking for something to do, visit swaec.org.
Mm-hmm.
Click on the old shoebox there, and you can get down and find the workshop and sign up for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come and see us. We like doing, it's fun to get into the room, and we like to do part of the workshop as a live show.
Yeah.
So you have a good time with us, and we show you how to have a great time in your classroom with podcasting.
Yeah, absolutely. We're down in Texarkana yesterday. Oh my gosh. The time is flying everywhere. We're everywhere. But no, we were in Texarkana yesterday and did a couple of 1-hour shows, and one of our regular listeners and one of our true friends, Mark, was listening online, and he provided some awesome feedback for things that were going on and actually helped contribute to the conversation. And so that was most helpful. Appreciate Mark for tuning in. And really, we appreciate all you guys, anybody who's out there tuning in, whether you're a first-timer or you've been with us for a while. We appreciate you hanging out with us. If you would like to participate and come along with us, on Twitter, be sure to follow hashtag ETGChat. We'll be monitoring that during today's show. You can also find us at www.edutechguys.com. Twitter is at EduTechGuys. Facebook /EduTechGuys. Instagram, I don't know what that's called.
It's actually Instagram.com /. We are kind of getting up on our social media game. I will tell you, if you're education or taking a listen, jump on Twitter. It's a great place to follow a lot of great educators, educational services, educational providers. It's all right there on Twitter. It's a wonderful place to go and find everything you're looking for. Don't forget to visit our website, edutechguys.com. Drop down to the bottom of the page, and you will find a nice contact form. And just fill it out, drop us some information, and let us know you'd like to be on the show. You'd like to ban the show. No. If you'd like to be on the show, let us know.
Yeah.
We're always looking for something new and exciting to bring to the educational technology field and our teachers and our educators around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that, if you are new to the show, one of the things that we do every week is, or we try every week, we will feature an independent music artist of the week, or artists. Sometimes we do more than one. And so if you are an independent singer-songwriter, by all means, head out to edutechguys.com, and again, scroll to the bottom, fill out that form, let us know who you are, what you sing, how to get a hold of some of your music, and then we'll reach back out to you, and hopefully we can get you on here featured as an artist of the week.
Yay.
Yay.
So listen, we're going to drop right into. We have a very special guest today. I don't remember how we met. We'll find out when we get into this. I think it was from I followed them on Twitter and I found out. It's funny that you don't know about something. You're on Twitter. You're following a group of hashtag chats, and you find out about something new, and you go, "How did I not know about this?"
Yeah. Yes.
You know, this is giant.
Yeah.
This is a massive thing going on, and I did not know anything about it.
Yes.
And this is a massive thing going on right here that I knew nothing about, and that is Rokenbok. I'm embarrassed. We're not tech guys.
Turn in your badge.
But today we are very excited because we have the executive director of
Yes.
Rokenbok here. I'm going to let him introduce himself. Welcome.
Hi, EduTechGuys. How are you?
We're
Awesome.
good. We're doing great.
So my name is Paul Eichen. I'm the executive director of Rokenbok Education, which is a nonprofit educational organization based in Solana Beach, California, in San Diego County. And we're kind of an odd organization in that we're a nonprofit manufacturer. We actually produce a student design and engineering system and curriculum, which we then provide to both formal and informal educational institutions.
That's
awesome.
That
That's
is
very
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
It's funny. When I found you, I was like, "Wow, this is great." And then when we got onto the site and we started looking at your website, by the way, your website is one of the best websites I've ever been to. I'm not just saying that because you're a guest, but it's really the truth. It's rokenbokeducation.org. Rokenbok education.org. Wow. I was just blown away, and I learned everything I needed to know about your company from there, about your organization. It's hard to call you guys a company. You're a company, I get that, but your main product is educating students. I mean, you're about education. That's what you are about.
We started out our life more than years ago as a for-profit making engineering toys. Mm-hmm. But in the last few years, we discovered over the first decade of the organization, we started getting all of these letters from parents and teachers and college professors talking about the impact of Rokenbok on kids in STEM. And so we started studying it back about 2009. We formed some alliances with universities, and we figured out that what we had created was actually more valuable in the classroom than it was as a toy, and we've been headed in that direction ever since.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
So about your organization, before we move forward, about your company, how many employees do you guys have?
Well, there's just a handful. I think there are only 8 of us that come to work every day, but we're kind of a modern company in that lots of stuff is done, like our manufacturing is done offshore, our warehousing is in Indiana, we do a lot of contract engineering and contract curriculum development, so it's a very modern company in that sense.
That's awesome. So not only are you about education and technology, you're also providing jobs, and that's just a great thing.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. So let's get into it. Let's talk about your particular perspective on technology and education, the focuses that you guys have on that. I know I'm jumping into it, but we keep a tight schedule. I'm the taskmaster here, so I try to keep us to a tight schedule. When we talked earlier, I cheated. I got to talk to Paul earlier.
What?
Yeah, I know it.
I was not invited.
We were talking about, this is the big deal here is you guys are about applied STEM. This is what this is about. So one of the things is, so tell us about your approach, how you approach a teacher and a student about applied STEM, like fresh out of the box. You know, how do you approach that very first opportunity?
Well, our approach really came out of we had a professor that we partnered with back in 2009 that did the original research into what was it that was educational about Rokenbok. And what she taught us was that what Rokenbok is really good at is this huge array of fundamental fluencies, symbolism, symmetry, correspondence, etc. And that particularly for underserved kids, Rokenbok is really good at filling in these fluencies. And what went along with that is that the best time to intervene for a child to have an affinity for STEM is as soon as you can. And so we actually worked together to continue the development of our system so that it went down as young as kindergarten. So that's the one thing that we're best at is getting kids to see themselves as designers and engineers and filling in these fluencies. If a child gets an opportunity to learn how to do computer-aided design in middle school, but they don't know how to measure, or they don't understand, how to flip something in mirror image to create symmetry, it's very difficult for them to take up the challenge.
Sure.
And then, what we found is even a bigger challenge for us is that if you're going to intervene in a child's education very early on, you're going to have to do that with a general education teacher. You don't find a lot of specialized science teachers or STEM teachers, in elementary schools. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we try and do a real good job of is helping general education teachers discover the designer and engineer in them, and to show them they can be really powerful STEM mentors with young children. And that's the basic philosophy that we approach things with. Is we want every child to see themselves as a designer and engineer, and that they have that capacity within them. And we want all teachers to understand that they can be powerful mentors in STEM in children's lives.
So how do you do that? How do you bring that out of those teachers?
Well, the first thing that we do with a group of teachers is we do a little routine that we call "Let's Make a Hammer," and we just put one of our student design systems in front of them, one that's really designed for children in K through 5, and we show them a couple of things about it, how the pieces go together, and then we say, okay, now make a hammer, and they make a hammer, and then they all make models of hammers because because Lego is so dominant in our culture, everybody thinks that construction toys are for making visual models of things. So everybody makes a hammer, they look like hammers, and then we ask them to use them, and of course, as soon as they hit the table, they fly apart. Right. So then we demonstrate two things to them. One is that we didn't have to explain to them what a hammer was. They all had an image of a hammer in their mind, and they were able to express that design using our media with only 2 or 3 minutes of instruction. And then we show them some more technical things about the media, how you can make really strong things out of Rokenbok, and we have them design a hammer that's much stronger. Okay. And then we go on to teach them, then we have them design the hammer with empathy. We say, okay, now your client's a kindergartner, so, what sort of characteristics would a kindergartner want in a hammer? And we have them design the hammer for small hands. And then we have them redesign the hammer one more time for cost. Each piece is worth $1. So how do you design a strong hammer for a kindergartner at reasonable cost? And, this all takes about half an hour. And so within a half an hour, they've learned a lot about our system. They've learned a lot about the fact that they are designers and engineers, and that these things that they've just learned how to teach, how to design something for strength, for empathy, and for cost.
Sure.
In 30 minutes.
That's perfect.
Well, and my guess is that many times when you, especially general ed and aiming at elementary, my guess is that many of those teachers probably really hadn't even thought of, let alone possibly had even heard any of those terms expressed that way. Now all of a sudden they've got this vocabulary they didn't even have before.
That's interesting.
A lot of the teachers, they for the same reasons that kids opt out today, they decided to stop playing with technical things a long time ago, and so they've come to they see themselves as people that don't do technical stuff. They do humanities or whatever, and so you just have to reconnect them and ask them to see themselves differently, that they actually can teach STEM, and you can make that shift, help them make that shift in their minds pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So have you built into the system, using that same premise of building a hammer with the teachers, is that how you determine which fluencies are missing or, say, underserved for the students? The only way you can determine which fluencies are missing is with, that
Rokenbok is not an activity. It has to be mentored. And so you've got to be with the kids and working with the kids in their exercises, and then you observe and you can see what's going on. And the same is true with adults. You can pretty quickly see who spent a lot of time, constructing things, whether it's an IKEA furniture or, who's really comfortable with certain concepts and who has shied away from it for whatever reason. I always theorize that, some teacher that we're trying to teach had a fight with her little brother over Legos, and her dad said to her, 20 years ago, leave your brother alone and go play with your Barbies, and it's the last time she ever touched a technical product.
Right.
And so you've got to reconnect that educator to the fact that they can do this stuff. But those fluencies, you're going to fill them in just by observing and helping the children when you can see their learning edge. You look for each child's learning edge and help them through it, and that fills in the fluencies.
So when you are working with a school, especially say for the first time, or maybe not even the first time, maybe you've worked with the teachers, is that looking for those deficiencies and those fluencies at the student level? Is that something that you guys actually help with, or is that something that you give the tools to the teachers and then the teachers figure out those deficiencies, and then either the teachers come back and work on enhancing those deficiencies, or is that something where they call you back in and say, okay, we've got this, we believe these are the deficiencies, we need your help now at the student level?
So our main goal in working with teachers is to get them to be comfortable and see Rokenbok as a resource. There's hundreds of hours of curriculum on our website that they can use.
Sure.
But just using our curriculum it's a great scaffold, but it's when they start to use it creatively to create design challenges for their students and use it creatively in a way that's most comfortable for them. So if we can get teachers comfortable in using our system as a resource, then and they get into the practice of it, they'll see what's needed. I mean, they're used to differentiating between their students.
Sure.
They're good teachers, and so as they get accustomed to using Rokenbok as a resource, it's easy for them to spot where they need to intervene.
Sure. Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things that impressed me is I joined the website and filled out all the information so I could log in. And the teacher resources under the STEM Maker curriculum is expansive. It's huge. You guys have really done your work there. I'm very impressed with that.
There's a good story behind that. We started into doing this research some years ago, but we really couldn't. One day we got this call from a professor at Pittsburgh State University in Kansas, and he was kind of angry with us because we had abandoned our radio frequency control system for our robotics and moved on to infrared control. And he wanted to complain because we hadn't moved our tower crane over into infrared, and he was using it for an intermodal transportation class in his classroom. And Mike Needham he teaches at the Kansas Technology Center, graduating teachers with degrees in applied STEM education. And so I started telling Mike about our challenges and trying to figure out how to bring our system to the classroom. And he said, well, why don't you come out here to Pittsburgh, Kansas, and I'll show you how we've been doing that for the last 10 years at the Kansas Technology Center. So the concepts of mobile STEM lab and the concept of the STEM Maker curriculum actually came from Professor Needham at Pittsburgh State University. They're not they're concepts that we've adopted and dove into deeply, but we learned them in Kansas.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's cool.
That's a great story. Let me jump back to my show notes. That got me thinking. So, one of the biggest deals is you guys are constantly moving forward. You're changing. It's progressive. Your whole STEM movement with everything you do. Because I know one of your big things coming out here really soon is the programmable robotics that are coming out, and I think that's soon, isn't it? Is that up on a Kickstarter page, isn't it, for programmable?
It is. We've got a Kickstarter campaign around it right now.
Yeah. So
we expect.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say we expect to be delivering the the Arduino programmable robotics early next year.
And
That is awesome.
That reminds me, since you guys are so progressive, I also noticed when I went to the website, my superintendent was actually sitting with me. And we went to the website and I clicked student resources. And he said, hey, click that thing that says 3D virtual parts library. And, there's a big sell. Superintendents as CEOs of schools, they know what's going on, but they don't necessarily get, their hands dirty. They have the people to do that. So, but he was super impressed, as am I, with your 3D virtual parts library. I mean, that expands the ability to use your system, infinitely. And I was wondering, how often do you guys update the parts library? Is it like when something new comes out, do you guys throw it out there for student resources?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty easy thing for us to do because we were I think one of the first couple dozen SolidWorks installations in the country. Mm-hmm. We started the engineering of the system back in 1995.
Wow.
So everything's always been done in solid modeling using SolidWorks as our engineering workstations. And so going from our engineered parts to something that's usable by a student is just a matter of a little bit of work translating the part into the various files.
That's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
So when you say that, so SolidWorks is been your platform for that long. When you come into a school, do you guys get asked to do that? So if, say, my school decided, hey, let's do this, what's the progression that happens with partnering with Rokenbok?
Well, usually the first part is just understanding the needs of the school, what grades are being covered, what the demographics of the students are, what the teaching staff is like, who in the teaching staff has experience or doesn't have experience with applied STEM. And then from there, we usually design a resource center. So generally speaking, sometimes Rokenbok's put into a STEM lab or a makerspace, but more often than not, it's put into a resource center in the library or someplace else, and then it gets rolled from classroom to classroom and used in just regular classrooms.
Uh-huh.
So we design a resource center that will meet the needs of the school from K through whatever, or 3rd through 6th, or whatever the school might be. And then from there, we customize a training. We come in and train whichever portion of the teaching staff is interested, and go through and get them prepared. We give them enough training so that they'll be able to pull down from our website any of our curriculum and use them successfully.
That's awesome. I mean, that really is. That is.
Well, it's a full program.
Right.
I mean, it's exactly. So, what do you find now? Do you find maker spaces becoming a kind of a hot topic? Do you see that one being more than just resource center based?
I can't. We've been in pilot for until January of this year. We were working with a lot of the Catholic schools in San Diego and the San Diego library system and a few other schools around the country. But we really only launched the full program in January of this year, and the program's not even complete in a sense until we have our robotics shipping early next year. Then we'll have our complete program. And it's just there's no pattern that I can discern yet. We're in schools, we're in libraries, we're in children's museums. The most important pattern that we see is just our ability to get mentors that didn't think they could be STEM mentors, getting them happy and comfortable and seeing themselves differently. And then our ability to have kids see themselves as design and engineers. And I think we're pretty adept at that. But I'm not quite sure where it's going to be most popular or how it's going to be used yet, because we're going into so many different situations.
Sure.
Well, and along those same lines, I would stake quite a bit on the fact that you will most likely be surprised by some of the places where the things that you're doing and the programs that you're providing are implemented in ways and in facilities and with individuals that you probably never even saw on your radar. Right now, you're focusing on students and teachers, and I'm sure you're seeing a little bit of the kind of the periphery of those. But my guess is that once this really starts, once you've got your robots available and the whole program is available as kind of a one-stop shop, here we go. We can show you how to do all of this. that you're going to end up being contacted by folks that are way outside of the box where you were sort of thinking. I mean, in a weird sort of way, I could see. I could see some corporation who is trying to get their folks to kind of see themselves differently. I could see them bringing in a program like this, and are they going to be teaching it? No, not necessarily. Are they going to be mentoring? No, not necessarily. Although who knows? Maybe they will be. But by the same token, I could see where someone if I were in charge of a group of folks and I was trying to get them to see themselves, maybe their skill sets or maybe their different, just basically alleviate some of the limitations that they kind of put on themselves. I mean, I could see something like this coming in, and this is how we'd spend, an afternoon staff meeting. Guess what? We're going to build hammers. And they can be like, what are you talking about? And then by the end of the day, go, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Yeah, one of our directors is a consultant. He does a lot of consulting for one of the big banks, I think based in St. Louis, and they're using Rokenbok to do leadership training. And then another director ended up doing the Let's Make a Hammer activity with her church, with all of the volunteers in their church. They were trying to create a different mindset. I forget exactly what the goal was, but they used Let's Make a Hammer to set the stage. So yeah, I think that can happen too. But I have to say, what I'm most excited about is this ability to, I want to give kids X-ray vision. I see how children have lost connection to where technology comes from. A lot of times when I go in to teach, the first question I ask the children is, well, who brought the tools today? And they all look at each other, and I say, you guys were supposed to bring the tools. And they go, well, we didn't bring any tools. And I'll say, well, what about your shoes? What about your pencil? What about your eyeglasses? And then I'll ask them, well, didn't you use your tools to eat your breakfast?
Right.
And they don't think of their knife and their fork as technology.
Right.
And then I'll hold up my iPhone and I'll say, is this one thing or many things? And they'll go, well, it's one thing. I go, no. How many radio systems are in an iPhone? Well, there's 3. And how many components? There's a camera system and all these electronics. So, the mission we're on is to have children have a better understanding, have X-ray vision in this terribly technical world that we have. And I'm just really excited about the fact that we seem to have found, after all these years of building this system, we've got just a wonderful process for helping children have this X-ray vision. Yeah. And it's a ton of fun.
Yeah,
that also helps.
That's interesting you'd say that. I think that's the biggest deal with this generation. My generation was, I can't tell you how many radios I tore apart.
Right.
But I grew up, my dad owns a body shop. So I was lucky enough to realize pretty early on that, wow, there's thousands of parts that go into one car in one make. And that used to be a big deal. My dad would tell me is that, somebody makes this handle for the inside of this car to open the door. And that's a factory job that, someone designs the handle and someone makes the handle and someone designs the equipment to make the handle.
Right.
And I think you're right. Our kids have forgotten this. And you sent me some stuff earlier. I want you to tell us a little bit more about it, about your son's 4th grade class. They designed their own skateboards. Back in the day, I'd like to say I actually skated at the same skate park as Tony Hawk. That was a long time ago. I was much younger and a lot less fatter. And but then I noticed, but you sent me a video of the kids designing their own skate park. Can you give me some more on that? That was really awesome.
Yeah, so our 10-year-old Roberto's got this really cool teacher. He goes to High Tech Elementary. Both our kids go to High Tech Elementary, which is a project-based school here in San Diego. And so the 4th graders' project for this trimester was to make their own skateboards. And they went to Skateboard Factory and visited with professional skaters and all that sort of thing. And they made their own skateboards. And his teacher asked me if we could come in and use Rokenbok to study some of the technology behind skateboards. So we started studying simple machines, and we made a study of inclined planes. And then we also did pulleys because I wanted the children to see different ways that one can create mechanical advantage. So we spent a number of class sessions studying these things, but then we did a design challenge. We started it on Tuesday, and going back tomorrow. But the design challenge was to make a skate park and an emergency crane that could roll over the skate park to rescue an injured skater. So we had different teams doing different things. So, one team was constructing the bowl, and then other teams were making ramps for skaters of various abilities. And so we gave them ratios of mechanical advantage, of steepness, that they would make the various ramps, and they had to be certain sizes that would connect to the pre-established height of the rim of the bowl. And then there was a team that was making this emergency crane that was going to use pulleys to rescue an injured skater. And then it just went, and I'd never done this before. It was this idea of using Rokenbok as a resource. We started with some curriculum, but then we just hit, Natalie Ali and I, Beto's teacher and I, we just invented this design challenge and hoped it would go okay. And it was kind of crazy and a bit chaotic, but the kids just did great.
Yeah, and you lit a lot of fires there. That's really exciting. I think that's the interesting part now that we've got to speak to you and get a real understanding in the heart of the company. It's 20%, it's 10% product, 90%, care and education. Mm-hmm. That's really what it is. You make a wonderful product, but now getting to talk with you and learn about the company, you guys are in it for the long haul, and I see why you're in it for the long haul. You're here to make sure that these kids grow up to be roboticists and grow up to be engineers and mechanical engineers and electrical engineers and things like that, and at least understand their potential.
Well, and the other side of that is they may not become any of those things, but they are going to have the knowledge, the knowledge and the tools that they understand. Like you said, they'll have the X-ray vision, even if that X-ray vision doesn't lead them down that particular path. No matter what they do, they're still going to have that those concepts that they have learned, and they will take with them forever.
Yeah.
I've always been, I guess, idealistically kind of against consumerism. So we've always talked about families and customers and clients, not about consumers. And so I think that what we're doing, that you're right. Even if children don't end up being engineers and scientists, if they understand the technical world, if they can have X-ray vision and can see through things, they can understand why a Ford Focus electric is so much cooler than a Ferrari. And if you can't see through the skin of the car, you don't understand what's so cool about that little Ford Focus electric, and how few moving parts it's got, and how much longer it's going to last, and how you'll never have to do an oil change or get new brakes. But if you can't see it, you're just subject to kind of brand and cultural forces that may be out of your control. So I think that's really what we're doing for a broad swath of kids, is just helping them understand the world that they're in a bit better. But I also think I talk to a lot of high school teachers that are teaching engineering, and I'll ask them, what percentage of the population of your high school even applies for an engineering course? And it's always some single-digit number. Mm-hmm. And I think that this long-term experiment that we're engaged in is that if we can connect children to STEM when they're little, when they're kindergartners and first, second, third graders, I suspect that the population of children that want to take the challenging technical courses when they get to high school and college will grow. And so, I think we're both helping all the children that get exposed to Rokenbok have X-ray vision and be more comfortable in the technical world. But I also suspect that long term, we're going to increase the pool of children that are willing to take up the tough challenges of technical courses, of STEM courses in high school and college.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. That's one of the biggest things that you're right. We see single digits in that, and it's post-secondary especially. In my career, over 20 years, I think I've had 4 engineers, that I can think of that went on and became engineers. Mm-hmm. Of some electrical engineers or computer science engineers.
Sure.
It's interesting. This also puts us into a beautiful place. 200 years ago, if you needed a tool, you probably had to make it. If you were moving west and you needed to build a fence, some of the stuff you had to make. Mm-hmm. That was just the way that it went. And I think we're getting to that point now, especially with programs like this, that every house one day will have a 3D printer, and when something breaks, the kids that have that, the people that have that X-ray vision and go, I think I could probably find this part and print it right here in the house and fix this piece right now. And that's a really big deal. And I think that this is the kind of program that, like Paul says, gives them the X-ray vision to see through that. So it's not just let me go buy something else or throw away the whole thing because I need to buy another one because I can't fix it. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Paul, so tell us what's moving forward with you guys right now through the summer. I know summer is always a big time, especially for schools. This is when we're doing workshops in PD and getting prepped for next year. What's a big deal for you guys? Are you guys going to be at any conferences? Are you going to be doing anything where people could visit and see, or is the website the best way to get information about Rokenbok?
Yeah, I don't know of any national conferences that are on our agenda right now. We just finished several, but yeah, I think the website is the best way. And then we're also in the process. We've got a network of Rokenbok value-added resellers that we're establishing. We cover about half the states in the country now. And so that's something else. We have folks that represent us that are out in the field, and that's another way that we can introduce people to Rokenbok. But the website's a really good way to get started. And then we're going to be doing a lot of work in mounting a lot more material on the website, particularly kind of how to clean up a Rokenbok classroom at the end of a session and get things. That's good.
That's perfect.
That's a good one.
Well, with the programmable robotic piece, I can build something that cleans up the classroom.
There you go.
That could work out also. But the big deal here is that I want to remind our listeners that this is a nonprofit organization. Mm-hmm. You're doing this for the sake of doing this. It's nonprofit, and but you are getting you said some resellers out there. But on the website, if I'll go ahead and give everyone a quick overview, just go to For the Classroom or For the Home. You'll see Shop Now, and you can see some of the products, all the products that you can purchase and get for your home or for the classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What's your biggest seller right now? Which one's the most popular?
Well, so the products are sorted out between the toy products for the home and then education products. On the education side, the two products are about equal in popularity. They're the Rockblocks Mobile STEM Lab, which is a K through 5 resource, and then the SnapStack, which supports simple machines and also computer-aided design and 3D printing.
Awesome.
Man. Very cool.
And those are both very appropriately priced. I mean, you're getting such a ton of stuff for such a little price. That's really amazing. And I think that the Rockblocks, is that a 3-pack or a 4-pack system? I think it's a 3-pack system, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 3 student modules on a mobile base.
Yeah. And
each student module is appropriate for 4 students. So a single Rockblock lab will serve 12 students, and 2 of them will serve 24 students. The SnapStack is actually a more compact lab, so there's 6 of them on a mobile base, and so a single SnapStack lab will handle 24 students.
Wow,
that's awesome.
That's an entire class for very little money.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's awesome.
Well, and not just on the money side, but also the fact that it's all easily, once you get all the pieces and parts back together again, and collected and sorted, but it's conveniently put together so that it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it is organized. It's a way to keep it off. It's mobile.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's awesome.
There was a question I had, and it just completely left my brain while you were talking. It was a good question. I know what it was. No,
okay.
I don't know what it was. I'm sorry, Paul. I had a question. I know what it was. On the website, there is a place for grants. Did you guys help schools out, because a lot of schools do have issues with finding the money to purchase some of this equipment?
We do have a pool of funds to help schools with their first purchase. So kind of to get something trial. So we've got a funder that helps us with that, and it's a matching grant where it gets matched 1 for 2. So a school can get about 1/3 of the cost of their first purchase of a Rokenbok lab.
That's perfect.
Good. Yeah,
that's a really big deal to a lot of schools.
Oh yeah.
especially even private schools. And this is not just about public education; it's about
Right?
education
Yeah.
across
All
the board.
education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were talking about Kansas. How many universities are interested in these also? Because I can see this isn't just for K through 12. This is for K through whatever. I know you said that one of your advisors uses it at a banking company, at a finance company. So how many universities have been interested in this?
Well, I think I could probably think of about a half a dozen that are using Rokenbok in one form or another. At San Diego State University, they're using Rokenbok in the program to teach science education to teachers, to elementary and high school teachers, and then it's being used at University of San Diego, and of course Pittsburgh State. I think there's a Cal State, Bakersfield is using it. So there's a number of universities that it can use for various purposes.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. That's very cool.
Well, I tell you what, our time is running down. Can you tell us anything else you want to tell us? Give us a wrap up here.
Well, I think just to say a little bit about our robotic system is that it's really different than other systems that are out there, in that it's not a robot. It's just part of the Rokenbok system. So you get a smart block that has 4 motor interfaces and then 8 sensor interfaces, and then you can make any sort of a robot you want: a robotic elevator, a robotic Ferris wheel, a robotic. My daughter's got a robotic closet that delivers her doll clothes to her in her room.
Okay.
There's a video about the way the robotics is going to work on Kickstarter. So if you go to Kickstarter and search Rokenbok, you can see it. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing about our robotic system is it can actually transmit and can take control of our remote control robots. So, for example, you could have a remote control drawbridge that tells a vehicle when to start across, when to stop while the drawbridge lifts or comes down and then moves ahead again. So you can actually create fields of interactive robotics because the smart block can interact with the remote control vehicles, and you can place sensors and program it any way that you want to. And then we'll have 2 levels of programming. We've done a customized version of ArchBlock for younger kids where they want to do drag and drop programming. And then, but behind that sits just a regular Arduino C++ programming. And so students will have access to the whole open source world of Arduino because our ArduBlock is just an Arduino implementation.
That's really interesting.
That's awesome.
So the drag and drop programming, is that iOS based, Android based? Does it matter?
It's actually Arduino based. So it's ArduBlock it's a Java based routine.
Oh, okay.
But it actually generates the C++ code. So it uses Java to generate the C++ code.
Okay.
And it actually uses the same custom Arduino library that we use for our Arduino program. We use it in ArduBlock. So it's got the same little symbols, our little sensors and our motor modules. Those are the icons that the kids are dragging and dropping into place, and then setting the variables.
That's really interesting.
That is very cool.
Yeah, that's very, very cool.
Good move. I mean, really.
Well, we're going to wrap up real quick, and we always do this, and we realize we've been talking for quite some time, and we usually go over our time. Anything else you'd like to share with us, Paul, before we leave?
Well, we sure appreciate you having us. I mean, you can imagine we've been working so hard on producing this system for years, and to get the chance to share it with people is an opportunity we appreciate very much.
Well, we want to thank you. And
thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to come on here, for sure.
And we're definitely going to share your story as much as we can.
Absolutely.
And, tell everyone we can run into about Rokenbok.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks, Paul, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks very much.
You bet.
All right. Take care.
Hey, you're listening to EduTechGuys Radio, come to you live from the Southwest Arkansas Educational Co-op and Hope Public Schools in Hope, Arkansas. We're going to drop out real quick and catch some music from one of our artists that we like to feature, Nick C. He has an album dropping in 2 days. Yeah. So this is Nick C's song, Completely Yours. So stay tuned to EduTechGuys.
When I'm calling out your name, will you hear me? when you're near me. And I know we have just begun, but I'm glad that we can give it a chance. 'Cause ain't no better feeling out than falling in love. My heart is not my own, and it's sinking like a stone. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. Well, love, every time that you cross my mind, I think of bright moonlight and a glass of wine, and slow dancing on the beach to our favorite song. And if nobody's looking, we can get it on. Well, I know we have just begun, and I'm glad that we can give it a chance. 'Cause ain't no better feeling out than falling in love. My heart is like a stone. My heart is not my own. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. It's the diamond in your eyes when you look at me, the way my hair stands up when I hear you speak, the way my legs turn rubber when you love me down. I said, hey, little lover, can you hear me now? Well, I know we have just begun, and I'm glad that we can give it a chance. 'Cause ain't no better feeling out than falling in love. My heart is not my own. It's sinking like a stone. I'm completely yours. 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 I'm completely yours.
Yeah, completely yours. That is Nick C. His album dropping in 2 days. It's going to drop on June 10th. You can go out to nicksea.com, niksea.com, and check that out. You can sign up on his mailing list, and you'll be one of the first to know. He's having a really cool launch party in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where he lives and where he's from.
If you want to make it out there.
Hey, you know,
You could do it.
our listeners could be out near Pittsburgh or have the wherewithal to get there and check out the launch party for Nick C's album. Speaking of places to go and places to be, let me tell you a little bit about where we are going to be. As we had mentioned earlier, next week, Tuesday, we're going to be at Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative in Hope, and we've got an afternoon program where we're going to be doing a 3-hour workshop on podcasting in the classroom. And part of that we will broadcast live, and it just kind of be a special show. We'll broadcast that part live, and then we'll probably be live off and on as the rest of the afternoon goes, and as we're demonstrating things, and as we help teachers learn how to incorporate podcasting in their classroom and kind of give them a taste of what it's like to record a piece for a podcast, and I'm sure we'll get into some minor editing, that kind of stuff. So that's going to be a lot of fun on Tuesday. And then Wednesday and Thursday in Hot Springs, we'll be at the Hot Springs Technology Institute, that is HISTE, and we will be live all day Wednesday and Thursday. So if you can't get enough of us, you'll get plenty. You'll get plenty next week. What's going to be great about that is, in fact, we've already got some folks that have already signed up for slots, and so we're going to be talking with presenters and vendors and participants folks, attendees who happen to come on by. And so they're going to share their HISTE experiences with us and with you that are listening. So that's going to be very cool.
And I noticed that the headlining entertainment for HISTE on the last night is Maxwell Blade the Magician. I'm just saying, I'm excited.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Anyway, so
I thought you were going with more of that. I didn't know that was.
That's what I was going to put in there. Oh, okay. Do you know what time it is? Listen, we're winding down quickly here. I did want to say we want to thank Paul Eichen for coming on, the executive director of Rokenbok, nonprofit organization that is, it sounds like they're hard into STEM education. And it's really cool. They're into the curriculum and the learn of STEM education, and then they happen to make a product to help make that visually and aesthetically pleasing to the students.
Sure.
So they're not just selling a product; they're selling the idea and helping kids get that X-ray vision for engineering in the future. I was thinking it was funny. You were talking about other places that would use it. The Arkansas hub of the Innovation Hub in Little Rock.
Yeah,
they do some stuff like this, and I wouldn't be surprised if they might already have some of the Rokenbok stuff there. And if they don't, they probably love to have it. So I'll drop them a line. Hey guys, we saw this.
Do that.
You might want to see this.
That's
hey,
right.
You know what time it is?
It's that time again. Google tip of the week.
I don't know why you do that.
I don't know, because it's stupid.
No, it's not stupid. It's not stupid. I just like to make fun of you. So this week, it's a fun one. It's something that I thought I'd throw out here. There is a great blog called research.googleblog.com, and that is the research end of Google. And they have lots of great stuff on there. Some of it is just way over most people's heads, including mine. It has to do with all the programming and the coding that goes behind some of their extensions and plugins. But they also talk about their new apps and their new pieces that they throw out. So this week, they released yesterday Motion Stills, which is an app which lets you create these beautiful GIFs from live photos. So what it does is, if you have a new iPhone that does the live photo piece, it actually takes that photo, it stabilizes it, and it makes the background. You've seen those really cool GIFs, the videos where the background's still, but there's just one thing moving. Well, that's what Google Motion Stills does as an app. So you can use that cool feature of taking that live photo on your iPhone or your iOS device, which is an iPhone 6S or greater, and take that picture and then use Motion Stills app to freeze that background and image stable it, making these really cool GIFs. Now, what would that work out for in the classroom? It works out for all kinds of cool stuff. Your kids can make some really interesting graphics, and I figured it was summertime, so what a great thing to have for all your vacation photos, all the workshops and conferences that you go to. Great ways to use this. So it's called Motion Stills. You can find it in the App Store.
That is
it's
freaking
free.
Cool. I mean, I had not seen it before Jeff pulled it up. And so I'm just looking at some of the animations that, they show you a before and an after. That is amazing.
Yeah, it really is, actually.
I mean, you talk about, the amount of stabilization that this is able to pull off and make it into a beautiful animated. Holy cow!
There's what's amazing is that what it does with video, with live, and the reason it can do that is because the way live photo works. Live photo is encapsulating it in lots of little pictures.
Sure.
It's a GIF, if you would, not really, but it's apples. But what's great about that is to think that you're using the processing power of a handheld iOS device.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do something like that in the past, it would take you a bank of how many machines to get that taken care of. So it's a really neat piece. Now, you're not going to do a 25-minute video with it. That's
and that's the point.
Yeah.
That's why it's paired up with Apple Live Photos. I mean, what's
Exactly.
Apple Live Photos? What, 6 seconds or whatever?
Yeah, that's that big. So, but it is a really neat piece. I highly recommend it. It is called Google Motion Stills. It's on the App Store. Take a look at it, especially if you're running an iPhone 6S or bigger, which that's the only thing you can get, iPhone 6S or 6S Plus. So, if you're running one of those, you can actually do live photos and you can play with this great, cool app. That's the app of the week. Hope you like it.
That is very cool.
Thank you. Listen, we're going to start to wrap this thing up and get off the air. Yeah. And listen, check us out on the web, edutechguys.com. Find us on Twitter at EduTechGuys. Follow the hashtag ETGChat if you want to find out what's going on.
Also, you can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/EduTechGuys, Instagram, EduTechGuys. Hey, just as David says, Google EduTechGuys. I'm pretty sure we'll be one of the first things that pops up. We're quite popular on the Google search engine.
On the line.
On the line. Just check us out on the line, and that's where you'll find us. Thanks again. We're going to get out of here. We actually have too much fun. It's summertime, so it gets even crazier.
That's right.
Yeah. Remember to catch us next week. We'll be at the Histy on Wednesday, so you can listen to 2 days of coverage starting at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, June the 15th.
Yeah, man. It's going to be awesome.
I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm David Henderson.
And we'll catch you in the funny pages.
You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.